Hello, everybody. My name is Dave Jackson, he, him.
And I'm Josh Covel, he, him.
And this is Tales from the Backlog, where each week I'm joined by a guest to deep dive a game from our backlogs. Today's game is Astro Bot. But before we get into that, a few quick things. If this is your first time here, first of all, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you checking out the show. Here is how spoilers work. Now, Astro Bot is not a narrative-heavy game, but there are some cool things that I think is fun to experience for yourself without being spoiled. We will save those for the spoiler section. As always, there is a timestamp down in the show notes for when spoilers begin, and until then, you're safe. And if you happen to like what we do on the show here, please consider supporting however you can, whether that be supporting monetarily on Patreon, telling a friend, sharing the show in Discord servers and the like, leaving ratings and reviews. It's all very helpful. So, now, as you heard before, Josh Covel is back. If you don't know Josh is the host of the Still Loading podcast, and he's the leader of a group of partying robots. Look at that. Josh, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you for having me back on the show. I am surprised you chose to name me as a leader of partying robots, because anyone who knows me knows I am probably the least partyish person in the world. So if you show up on me with a group of robots partying, it's just going to be us probably just sitting down and watching a really bad movie. That's my definition of party. Give me Miami Connection. Give me The Room. That is my kind of party right there.
Oh yeah. Well, there's probably some video game adaptations that would fit right in with that.
Double Dragon
for sure. There
Double
we go.
Dragon is nuts. It's got a young Alyssa Milano in it wearing one of the weirdest outfits you'll ever see in your life.
Okay, say no more. Previously on the show with Josh, we did, the first one was Chrono Trigger, and then we did an episode about Eco as well. So those are in the back catalog if anyone wants to go check those out. We have a very different game today. We're going to talk about Astro Bot, which is a 3D platformer developed by Team Asobi and published by Sony for the PS5 in 2024. Astro Bot was directed by Nicolas Doucet. Hopefully I'm saying the name right. I'm probably not, because that's just how I do it. But we'll have more credits as we go through. And if people have not heard of Astro Bot before, or you just heard the name, you don't know what it is, I say for the quick pitch, Astro Bot is a celebration of PlayStation history that also happens to be maybe the best platformer ever made? ? It's debatable. Josh, what would you say?
I put down a game that finally gives PlayStation a mascot character that will endure, celebrating PlayStation history while not pandering.
There we go. We'll definitely talk about those PlayStation tie-ins pretty shortly into this episode. It's one of the things, I mean, it's on the box. If you look at the cover art, you'll see it. So I played this on PS5, where it is currently at the time of recording. It's the only place you can play it. There's the box for the video viewers. This game took me 19 hours to beat. Well, not to beat. I played it for 19 hours because I collected everything. I got all the bots. I got all the puzzle pieces. I beat all the speedrun levels. I did everything I could. I didn't get the platinum because there's more stuff in there. I don't give a shit about platinum trophies, but 19 hours for me for all the collectibles. Josh, how about you?
I am literally, if for those watching the video see my eyes scrolling down, it's because I'm looking through my my Blue Sky thread or whatever chain of just all the games I beat in this year. And I believe was Astro Bot earlier. It must have been last year. I don't remember how long. Oh no, it was this year. 14 hours. I beat the game in 14 hours when credits rolled. I did platinum it though. I have platinumed it since. And it's funny. This game I adore, just saying it straight off the top, and we'll get into all of the reasons why, obviously. But another reason I actually have fallen even more in love with it is my daughter really likes this game. She is 4 years old and she doesn't play a whole lot of games, but she plays Astro Bot and loves Astro Bot. She can beat levels by herself, not any of the really challenging ones, but she can beat like the first one with the flamingo. She calls it the flamingo level because it's got the giant flamingos, and she can beat like one or two after that. She always makes me fight the bosses because she's scared of how big they are. And it's been fun. It's been fun watching her figure stuff out. It's very reminiscent of when I was a kid playing games for the first time. And you know how like when you're a kid and you're just like running into walls, be like, I wonder if I hit this pixel at this right angle, can I like, is there a secret in there? Because you don't understand how game logic works. You're just doing shit because you have no, it's all just curiosity. It's all just whimsy that you're just kind of pushing. And it's really fun to watch her play and kind of learn and experiment at the same time. It's really cute. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that.
And sorry, last thing, and because of that, my playtime in this game, according to PS5, is now 95 hours.
There we go.
Because of her.
That's a lot of Astro Bot.
That's a lot of Astro Bot.
Okay, let's rewind a little bit. So you played this before I did, and I'm coming to this pretty late. First of all, have you played any of the other Astro Bot games, Astro's Playroom or the VR game or anything like that?
Just the one that came bundled with the PS5. I think that was Playroom, right? Not I've not played the rescue mission or anything like that. I played the free demo that came with the PS5, which was honestly fantastic. It was interesting. Yeah. So going back, I know we won't. I don't know how much you want to touch on Astro's Playroom, so I'll keep this brief unless you want to go further. When my daughter would go back to play, because she's like, oh, this is a different Astro Bot. She wanted to play more. It's harder than Astro Bot. Like the Astro's Playroom is, I found like a little bit more challenging. Like watching her play, it was a lot harder for her to like figure out some of the mechanics and everything. It was interesting, and the controls slightly different. It was just really interesting to see the subtle changes between the two.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, when Astro Bot came out, I mean, I know you and I, we've talked a little bit about like different 3D platformers to have you on the show. I know that you like a 3D platformer. So
I do.
Was it like the fact that Astro's Playroom was, it was really good. I liked it a lot too. And then you're like, oh, new one. I got to play that. Or was it the PlayStation tie-in stuff? What was it that kind of drew you into it?
It was a combination of new one. I liked Astro's Playroom, and I was happy they were making a full-fledged video game, not just like a little demo type of thing. But then also the hype around it. Like there are certain games that I will buy that like the hype actually does suck me in. I fall into the hype cycle. Tears of the Kingdom was that for me, and I've barely touched that game, so I don't even know how much I like or dislike it. I'm assuming I'll like it because I like Breath of the Wild. With this, I knew I really wanted it. I knew I wanted to play it really bad, just because I saw so many of our peers, Matt Storm specifically, some of their posts about Astro Bot. I was like, man, I gotta play this game, and so it was. I mainly got it because of Astro's Playroom and also just the hype cycle around it.
Yep. Same for me, basically. Although I waited much longer than you did because I didn't buy it right when it first came out because. If basically, like with very few exceptions, if I'm not planning to play a new release and I like build it into my upcoming podcast schedule, then I don't have time to play a surprise new release. With certain exceptions where I'll push things out to make room for that thing. Like Silksong was one of those this year. So once that kind of like FOMO fades away about like the brand new thing, then I'm like, okay, I'll wait for this to go on PS Plus because surely it's going to go on PS Plus sometime. And it didn't, at least not at the time of recording. But I did end up renting it from the library. So I just want to give a quick shout out to libraries for letting me rent video games.
Man. I used to work at a library. There's some Josh lore.
Hell
for
yeah.
You. I was a
Love
page
Josh
there. That was my title, page. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. But yeah, work there. Libraries are fucking awesome.
Yeah, love it. And I'm lucky enough to live in a large enough library system where they do have video games. And they have like high profile video games too. It's not just like, shit you can find in the $5 bin or something like that. So I rented this from the library. That meant I had 1 week to play the game, and I 100%ed the game in that 1 week. I loved playing it. And Astro Bot has been talked about so much, especially when it first came out. It had like I just looked it up, has a 95 average on OpenCritic.
That's crazy,
which is,
yeah.
I think that would still be the highest game of 2025 on OpenCritic, if I'm not mistaken. So unanimous praise. I'm not breaking any new ground here when I say that Astro Bot's fucking awesome, but it lived up to the hype. 95 on OpenCritic, Game of the Year winner. So many people saying like, this is one of the best platformers ever made. It's pure joy, etc., sets a really high bar for me coming to it over a year later. And it more than lived up to all the hype. It was an absolute joy to play. And we'll dig into this after the upcoming music break, like proper, but I do just want to say right out, the only like common piece of criticism that I read about Astro Bot was those PlayStation tie-ins, and kind of there's a cynical view of it, and there's a view of it where you can say like, Astro Bot struggles to get its own identity because it's tied to all this PlayStation stuff. There's a view of it where it's like, hey, PlayStation, you're celebrating these franchises, fucking make a new game in these franchises, like give the fans something. And I didn't get that. It felt like pure joy and celebration of these games, these characters, etc. So we'll dig into that a little bit later, but I just want to get that out there. I love the PlayStation stuff. I loved finding characters that I knew from, childhood games or new favorites, all the same. So yeah, again, not breaking any new ground here. No new opinions yet, but Astro Bot's really fucking good.
I'm surprised by some of the pushback to the all the PlayStation fandom of it, because like if someone's saying because there's so much like PlayStation nostalgia and like fan service and that kind of stuff, I think that's valid to be a little annoyed by it, but I think Astro Bot very clearly has its own personality in terms of 3D platformer. We'll get into it when we talk about more of the gameplay, but like I do think this stands out against other 3D platforms. It does things, I don't know, differently, but it feels different enough that it has its own identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's listen to a bit of music. We'll come back and we will dive into what you're doing in Astro Bot and more to come. So the game begins. The Astro Bots, if you don't know them, they're these little white robots with black kind of TV screen faces. There is a ship. It's a PS5. That's the ship. They're flying through space. They're having a dance party. The opening cutscene, they're just living their best life. They're having a blast in there.
They're watching The Room. It's all a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on in there. An alien ship shows up. There's this big bully alien. It's a very cartoony, bad alien looking character. His name is Nebulax. Rips open the PS5 ship, steals the processor, I think it is. The ship falls apart, crashes down to these planets around the galaxy. The components scatter, and all the bots that were inside, the little Astro Bots, they scatter all around the galaxy. And you play as one of them, and there really is no story, but you're going around the galaxy trying to collect the bots back together, get the ship components back so you can get the ship working again, and, go out in space and party more. I assume that's their end goal here. They just want to get back to partying. So there is really no story to talk about. But as you go, you come across all of these callbacks to PlayStation history. I was reading that the game was released and developed specifically to release alongside the 30th anniversary of PlayStation as a thing.
So, wouldn't that be I guess 30th anniversary in Japan, I guess, was 94. So 94. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, because it's the 30th anniversary of the North American release as of the time of this recording. I don't know when this is coming out, but at least in 2025, it's the 30th anniversary.
Right, yeah. Japanese studio, Team Asobi, and then obviously Sony, Japanese company. So probably celebrating the Japanese anniversary. But because it was developed to be this celebration of PlayStation history of 30 years of PlayStation, the bots that you find and a handful of the levels are themed around PlayStation characters. So there's a lot of like the obvious ones, Crash Bandicoot's one of the first ones you find. There's the Last of Us characters, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, a lot of series that are like not necessarily PlayStation specific, but either like the first ones came out on PlayStation or they're strongly associated with PlayStation. So as you go around, this is like kind of like one of the joys of the game for me is finding these characters, seeing what does Crash Bandicoot look like as an Astro Bot. You don't find Crash Bandicoot. It's a bot wearing a Crash Bandicoot costume with his mannerisms and some little collectible things.
If you notice in the spot that you collect them, I forget which, I can remember what happens in the level. I don't remember the specific level though. There you see the peach fruit or the Wampa fruit, I guess is what it is from the games. Like there's crates that you can break. It's the first time you get a power up. I don't know how far you want to go into the gameplay stuff, but where you actually get that Crash Astrobot, there's like the Wampa fruit, and you have to break the boxes, and all the Wampa fruit kind of like scatter across the platform, and then, so they even like kind of hint to it. I remember when I was playing it and I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's the thing. Those are the Crash Bandicoot boxes, and then you break one, and there's a Crash Bandicoot Astrobot just chilling behind there. I'm like, well, how about that? They have little nods like that, not in just the character designs, but also in the ways you obtain them too.
Right. And they keep adding bots with new updates and stuff. I think that I ended up getting 328 bots or something like that. And some of the bots that you find are just the generic little white Astrobot guys. But I would say at least half, probably more like 2/3, 75% are themed bots.
I think they're missing some. I went to the Astrobot wiki, and they have 200 listed of just the cameos.
Themed ones?
Yeah, just the cameos.
So one of the things that I think is really cool is like it's obviously you have the big recognizable ones. You've got the Crash Bandicoot. You've got Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. You've got the big marquee PlayStation franchise characters, but there's also a bunch of really sicko characters in there for like people who played this weird obscure PlayStation game from 1997. Like there might be a bot from that shit in this game. So especially real quick, because Team Asobi came from the remnants of Japan Studio. And so there are a lot of like pretty obscure Japan Studio games that are being celebrated here just as much as, Sly Cooper and Ratchet and Clank and those characters too. I think that's awesome.
I'm only shouting this one out not because I've played the game, but just because I love the name. Rudy Rough Knight from Wild Arms, the PS1 JRPG Wild Arms. A character called Rudy Rough Knight gets their own Astrobot. But yeah, it's awesome, all the deep dives they go into, because they'll pick like series, and you'll have like even like Metal Gear. You'll go through a bunch of different characters from the Metal Gear games, and then from Resident Evil, and Powerups the Rapper makes an appearance in this, and like different cameos from that series. They also do a bunch of the Wipeout characters, which I've never played a Wipeout game, but like it was cool that they had all the different pilots. Ark the Lad, like there's just so much stuff. There's so many different things. They even had Sir Galahad from the Order 1886, which is an underrated PS4 game.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love all the cameos in this.
They're really like they're not shying away from like divisive games like the Order 1886. There's some Days Gone stuff in the game, which I know like a lot of people who played Days Gone actually like really liked it, but like Sony doesn't seem to think very much of Days Gone, but they're celebrating it in Astrobot here. And so it's not just like you know, in your head you think about like what are the PlayStation characters that will be in this game, and yes, whatever came to your head, they're probably here, but there's like 100 more. And I play a lot of video games. I'm coming up on 200 episodes of this podcast, and I've played games my whole life before starting this show. And there's so many characters where I got them and I was like, who the hell is that? Including like pretty, like the last one you get in the main game. I didn't know who it was.
And also what's cool about the different Astrobots is that, I don't know, did you get all their collectibles like from the gotcha machine?
Right. I got, I think like 2/3 or 3/4 of them before I ran
Okay.
out of coins.
So in the game, listeners, it's like they you as you collect coins throughout the game, you can spend them on gotcha machine balls, and then the machine pumps them out to you. It gives you an item, and usually that item is associated with one of the characters that you have an Astro Bot that you've collected. And what's fun is that
Yeah.
on kind of like the hub area, you can then go up to that Astrobot and hit them. If Astrobot punches them, they now do some new animation with the item that you gave them. I actually one of my favorites was, and when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, I literally thought of you. I'm not no bullshit. I literally thought of you when it was the dude from Like a Dragon. And you like hit him,
Kiryu's
and all
in
the
it.
stuff explodes everywhere, and it has to like pick it all back up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's a couple that I'll just shout out as examples. Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4 and Metal Gear Rising, he has a bot, and his little item is a watermelon. And if you hit him on the overworld, he'll slice up the watermelon with his ninja sword. It's really cool. One of the other ones you get is the little Katamari guy who rolls the ball around. And his little item is the Katamari. So if you hit him, he will roll up stuff around him in that environment. And it's just super cute. And so all of them have like their own little item that ties into their character. They all have these little animations that are like really cute. Like there's not that, like they all have one animation, but it's really cute. And I wanted to see them all.
Some of them have more too.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, there's I don't remember all of them, but there's a couple where if you hit them multiple times, they will do something different each time. Well, up to like 3, and then the cycle repeats. But yeah, there's a few that like actually do repeat, or have, there's a few that have multiple animations.
Even cooler. Yeah. And so like, I always wanted to see these, number one, because I like seeing my favorite characters. I like seeing Kiryu as an Astro Bot. I like, seeing these animations. I like seeing, okay, so they got bots from, let's say from The Last of Us, for example. But it's not just Joel and Ellie, there's others. So I like to see like how many do they have? What characters did they pick? Where did they draw the line for these? So it was cool to see. And it's all done in the spirit of celebrating these characters and celebrating the history of PlayStation. And that's where like some of the cynicism I understand. I understand that like I feel like a lot of companies are trying to trick me into liking things because they're showing me nostalgic things. And it's a trick that I don't appreciate. I'm not super excited just because someone's like, look at the Pikachu. You liked Pokemon when you were a kid. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that. But Astro Bot feels like such a celebration that like, yes, they're trying to give you the dopamine hit of pulling Raiden for someone who loves Metal Gear Rising like me. But they designed so many things to celebrate what Raiden is all about in those games. And Raiden is a pretty obscure example of a character in here that like it never crossed the line into cynical capitalist nostalgia conquest or something like that. For me, it felt truly like a happy celebration of the history of these. Even the ones that like from the ones that I loved my whole life up until the ones that I don't know what they are. They're still cute. They're still fun to find.
I think what would make the difference for me, if like I agree with you, I don't think this is like a greedy capitalist cash grab on nostalgia. Those do exist. I mean, for crying out loud, Sony did it with their PS1 Classic, right? That was just a soulless cash grab that I foolishly paid $100 for and have literally not opened it, sitting on a shelf, and I still spent $100 on it when it came out like 7 or 8 years ago, or whatever. But I think the difference with Astro Bot is that Astro Bot can and could stand on its own merits. Its gameplay isn't revolving around nostalgia. And none of the mechanics that you get are, I mean, there are some, but those are, and we'll get into it, that I believe that's saved for your spoiler section. So there are some mechanics that are a little bit like that, and I'll save that conversation for then. But like for the most part, if you remove those, you just have this really amazingly well crafted 3D platformer that could stand on its own. You don't need PlayStation branding or the nostalgia to make it work. I think that's what makes it a celebration of PlayStation's history, not just a cash grab on PlayStation's history. Because if the game was literally just like a museum where you could walk through, I mean, that'd be cool, but like you wouldn't pay $70 or $60 for a AAA title for a museum walkthrough, right?
Yeah.
In a game form. So I think that's where it kind of separates it for me, where like this game can stand on its own without all the Sony nostalgia. It could genuinely stand on its own. The Sony nostalgia helps for sure. That's kind of like, that is, I guess, the capitalist side. It's helping sell the game, but it could stand on its own without it. It's a good enough game. You don't need that Sony nostalgia to make the game enjoyable for you.
Yeah. So two things to kind of piggyback on that, because I agree with what you said. There are a handful of like themed levels that are like a level based on a specific PlayStation title or series or something like that. First of all, in your head, okay, listener, viewer, think of the top 5 most popular or most iconic PlayStation franchises. What would they put big cutouts at the entrance of their office, of their headquarters? Think of that. There is no way, I'm just going to say this, there is absolutely no way you guessed all 5. There's no fucking way.
No.
Because they got some surprises for us.
There's at least 2 that I can think of that were genuinely surprising me. One you put in your notes. I had the one that you mentioned that you hadn't heard before. I had heard before, and I was like, what the fuck? Why? It's so strange.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's a fun level.
Yeah, it's really fun. And its inclusion in the game makes sense if you know the history of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, like, it's not pandering to, like, if you Google a list of the top 5 best-selling PlayStation franchises, those are not the 5 levels they built, or like that they built around those titles. So they're really having fun with the way that they do this. And the other thing, to piggyback off of what you said, that Astro Bot could survive without it. No matter what character you come across, no matter what little animation they have when you interact with them in the hub world, no matter what, it is all still very identifiably Astro Bot. It never stops being Astro Bot's personality as a game or as a series, that fun, upbeat, dance party, goofy personality. Even the most fucking serious characters, you know, Sony's now known for their gritty cinematic action adventure games or whatever. Even those characters are all goofy as shit, fun-loving little Astrobots in the game. It never stops being like that. And that's not even talking about gameplay. It's just look at the bot, look at the way they act. It never stops being Astrobot.
I think another indication of just how much this was not just how much this was actually a labor of love and not just a nostalgia grab is something I noticed. There's so much attention to detail in this game. And they showed in a lot of different ways. One of the first ways that I noticed when I was playing, did you notice what happens when the rain hits the ground, Dave? If it's raining in a level, did you notice what happens when the raindrops hit the ground?
Besides the little tinkle on the tinkle's a bad word. I should have said that. The little haptic feedback on the controller.
Yeah, not that. It's something you see on screen.
Then I don't think
it has the button logos, the square, the triangle, the cross, and the circle on the ground. Like you'll see it appears for like a second, but it appears and it just kind of fades away. So every time a raindrop hits, you see little sprinkles of the PlayStation buttons in there. If you turn I thought that, like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's so subtle. Like, why would you do that? But it's adds to that whole celebration aspect. And it's not everyone's gonna notice. Like you didn't notice. It's not important to the game, but they did it because it was a labor of love. If you turn the camera around to look, so Astrobot is facing you, the player, like it's looking straight at you at the screen, he waves at you. He'll wave at you and say hi. Stuff like that. And also, like, in a lot of different levels, there's camera stops for you to go into photo mode where they have like a little like cutout, like you would see in like a theme park or whatever, for you to stick your face through.
Right.
And they all had different fun little animations with things there. There is just so much attention to detail and love put into this game. And like, I love all that type of stuff. The rain thing I know is super minor, but it's like, why would you do that? Except if you just really were like, this would be a cool idea to continue this whole like celebration of PlayStation. I love it. I love how much joy the joy that you feel in playing. You can tell they had that same type of joy in making it, and that's not that common, I think.
I think that you can tell in a game, and that it's not to say that the Astro Bot developers didn't have hard times during the development. Making a video game is impossible. I'm sure that it was a challenge in many ways, but you can feel that like they loved doing it. You can feel it in the game, and it starts with like the way that they handled these tie-ins, I think. Because I think it would have felt like a cheap nostalgia grab if you just like unlock trading cards or some shit for like the characters that you get. But instead you get this like this very cute Astro Bot ass design for like this character, whether it's Spider-Man or Crash Bandicoot or the Katamari guy or some, weird character that I've never even heard of. I was walking around the hub world and I was like, there's this group of characters here, like in this like black and white thing. I don't know what the hell that is, but they're all really cute, and the design of them is really awesome. Those themed levels also, like the attention to detail of like what's it like to play that game.
Yeah.
What kind of things are you doing in that game? How do you fight? What kind of puzzles are you solving? What jokes can we poke at like this game? I got some specifics in the spoilers section I'll point out, but like there's like some, game design memes like yellow paint, for example, in some of these that like they make jokes about that in these levels. Like they really thought about it. Like you said, the attention to detail in there. There's not that many of these like PlayStation themed levels that like change your moveset like that. But the ones that are there are really, really strong. And I think, again, it comes back to like, we're celebrating this. We're celebrating these games, what it's like to play them, what you're doing, a little bit of like the story, not much, but a little bit of that. It's like it had every chance to like come off and feed the cynical side in me that wants to be like, this is actually bullshit. Like, okay, so let me try and think of like there's Metal Gear Solid stuff in here, and it would be really easy to be like, oh, you're throwing Metal Gear Solid in my face. Like you could get a reaction like that, but the Metal Gear Solid stuff is so funny and it's made with such love that it's a celebration of Metal Gear Solid, not a reminder first that Metal Gear Solid is over until they revive it, because everything gets revived. Everything gets necromancied. There's nothing can die, but you know what I mean.
Well, and also just to an extra point to that, we said there was over 300 bots, right? Let's say easily over 200 of them are cameos. There's 200 unique animations minimum for those things that are not part of the gameplay, really. Like they don't have to be there. They didn't have to do that. Like you said, if it was a cash grab, they could have just done trading cards. They could have done sound bites. They could have done like the little 3D trophies like you see in Smash Brothers. That's not a shot over the bow at Smash Brothers, mind you. It's just like, because that, Smash Brothers is its own game. It's a completely separate thing. But they could have done something simple like that, but they didn't. They had to find a way to take an existing character and Astro Botize it. Then they had to come up with animations for it, and within the kind of like the theme that they're going for with Astro Bot. And then also you were touching on like the levels where you play as like different, like the theme levels or the theme planets or whatever that are homages to specific games. Even then, like I'm thinking of one specifically where it gives you the feeling of that game, like you were saying. How do they find that feeling of those games? But it also still feels Astro Bot. They found a really great way to marry the two games into like something that you probably wouldn't want to play a full game of, but it's perfect for that level. It's just it's great. Like it's so interesting that like this game just really does such a good job at celebrating history when it feels like a lot of times, like I've seen I've seen other devs and do stuff like this and just fall so flat, you know.
Well, there's been like attempts in PlayStation history to do this sort of thing with like their Smash Brothers clone and stuff like that. That like didn't quite work.
I have Battle
and
Royale All Stars or whatever it is somewhere on my shelf.
It feels like this is the way that they found a way to celebrate these characters. And like you bringing up Smash Brothers, every Smash Brothers game is a celebration of Nintendo franchises, and then, you know, third-party stuff more and more with more and more games. And Xbox would do this too if they knew what the fuck they were doing, like as a company. So
what are you talking about?
Like why can't PlayStation can celebrate their history too? And I think that, like you said, they unlocked the way to do that with Astro Bot. And Astro Bot, you know, we'll get into it very quickly, but you're never confused about like, is this Astro Bot or is this Crash Bandicoot? Like it's always Astro Bot.
And I think too, like with the Smash Brothers comparison, Smash Brothers on its own could, like, the gameplay itself is good enough that it could stand on its own without the Nintendo. I don't think it would be nearly as popular, but the gameplay itself is solid, right? Like it's that type of thing. And also, I feel like Astro Bot is the first time I've seen PlayStation's history celebrated in such a joyful, like, earnest way. I feel like that's why Nintendo kind of gets away with some of, not all the stuff they do. Like, you could make the argument their Virtual Boy thing they're doing is a little bit strange, but like in general, with
talk
a lot
about
of the ways
nostalgia cash grabs. Like,
what are you talking about? Which honestly, I kind of want one. I would, if I had $100 to spare, I would fucking buy one. But but a lot of times, like especially with Smash, it feels like there's an earnest appreciation for the history of Nintendo, and I feel like how often did you, like when people first played like Smash Melee or something like that, we're like, oh, who's Ness? I've never heard of this. Or I guess Ness was in the first game too, but like who's Ike? Is Ike in Melee or is that Brawl? I don't remember.
Yeah, Marth and Ike were.
Marth and Ike, yeah. And because Fire Emblem was not a huge thing, and that type of stuff can help bring awareness to like other genres and other series that they have in their like wheelhouse or their stable that maybe you're not aware of. And it's
Marth and Roy. Sorry, Smash
Marth and Roy.
Brothers
Thank
people.
you.
Don't come
Ike is in Brawl. Marth and Roy. And like with this one, it's the same thing. Like there's so many different references to different games. There's a Klonoa reference. There's Oddworld.
Yep.
There is. What was the one that like really surprised me that I just could not believe they had in there? I can't remember what it was anymore. But they also even had the original PlayStation mascot, the dude with like the crazy pixel hair. You know what I'm talking about? He looks like it's just a face, but it's like crazy, like demonic looking face. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, it's there's so many cool cameos in it, and it's a way to be like, oh, what's that? I've never heard of that before. And then you dig into it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I've never heard of this game. Maybe I should go check it out. And it kind of fills that same void. It kind of does what for PlayStation what Smash has done for Nintendo for so long. It's a celebration while simultaneously being a really fucking good game.
It is. And I think this is our opportunity to start talking about what it's like to play the game. So let's listen to a bit of the music. Let's get in the mood. We will come back and talk about playing Astro Bot. So Astro Bot is a 3D platformer with a ton of collectibles. So you're going through different challenges in the levels, and you're collecting coins, you're collecting puzzle pieces, and you're collecting bots. Every level will have 3 puzzle pieces and usually like 5 or 6 bots to find. And there's quite a few levels to get up to that like 300 plus bot level. Astro has a real basic toolkit. You can jump. He has a jetpack, so you can kind of hover in the air. You don't gain a lot of
boots that help him hover. It's not really anyway. Sorry, continue.
Right. It functionally a jetpack, but yeah, like laser boots. You don't get a lot of like vertical gain with that, but you can hover and get some horizontal gain. You can punch, and then you can charge your punch up to like whirl around and do a spin attack. That's the basic toolkit. And before we get into like level specific gimmicks and things like that, I just want to say Astro controls like an absolute dream. It is a perfectly controlling platformer. And even within that small group of core moves, you can chain things together to do some pretty crazy shit. Like if you've seen people do their speed runs of Astro Bot, especially in like the speed run specific levels, you can see like there's a lot of like complexity to movement in Astro Bot that you don't need to master to beat the game, but it is there. And again, the handling is perfect. Like, you know, I always like, I'll fall off a ledge. I'll be like, what the fuck? I pressed the button, but like, I didn't press the button. I missed it. So I really think that this is like one of the cleanest, like handling platformers I think I've ever played.
Also, since you mentioned the ledge, shout out to something that I've never seen any other 3D platformer do. You can't walk off the edge by accident in these games. If you just walk straight up to it, Astro Bot will stop and like teeter on the edge and be like, whoa. It will only fall off if you hit the jump button to jump off the ledge.
Okay.
And let me tell you, as a father of a 4-year-old who's learning how to play games for the first time, that is a fucking godsend that they can't just walk off by accident because they're still trying to figure out how to control things. It gives them more time to figure out the mechanics and reactions and all that other stuff. And yeah, it controls like a dream, like you said, Dave. It is fantastic. And what I love about Astro Bot, the way it controls with its very small move set, jump, double jump, punch, spin punch. It's like you have move, iteration on, like in iteration on that move.
Yeah,
jump,
you
double
have two
jump,
moves
punch.
and a secondary thing on each one. Yeah.
Yes. And I think what's so cool about that, I'm personally a fan of this. I really love it when games are able to, and it doesn't work for every game. It's very seldom. Mario is a good example that does this as well. This game got compared a lot to like 3D Mario games for good reason, in terms of like, not necessarily in terms of the style. Like Astro Bot doesn't feel like Mario, it feels like Astro Bot, but in terms of the polish, the quality of level design and all this other stuff, it feels it's comparable to Mario. And I think also comparable to Mario is Astro Bot's moveset. Once again, different than Mario's moveset, but it's the idea that they give you a simplistic moveset, and they find so many creative ways to iterate and design around that small moveset that constantly gives you different challenges that you weren't expecting, or you can then figure out ways to move a little bit faster through a level. In fact, it was funny, you added me on PSN just so we could see each other's Astro Bot scores, and you actually beat me on one of the levels. And I ended up, when I saw that, I got a notification, Dave. I got a notification that you beat me, and I'm like, well, we can have none of this. And I went back and I beat the level again. I played like 3 or 4 more times, and I took my title back. But when I was first playing it, I realized like, okay, I can cut off different time and shave some seconds off here and there, and that's because the gameplay is so simple. It allows you to experiment a lot more because you don't have to keep track of all these different moving parts. They give you a very limited moveset, so you don't have to keep track of a lot. And within that limited moveset, they explore so many ideas, as you see throughout this game.
Right. And so the basic moveset, like if you compare it with something like Mario Odyssey, like it's not as expressive as Mario Odyssey, because you can do anything you want with the cap in that game if you're good enough. Astro Bot doesn't quite get to that level, but it does, it handles really well. The levels are designed really well, and all the levels will give you an extra power up on top of that like core 4 moveset. And you get these always at like the beginning of the level, and then the levels are built around that basic moveset and then this one kind of power up that you get.
And not every level has that new power up, but a lot of them do. There's at least 1 or 2, like 2 or 3 in each, like, because there's different galaxies, right? And there's at least 2 or 3 levels in, like, because the first level, right, they don't have. I don't know. It does have the elephant in that one. Maybe you're right. Is it in every level? I thought there was some that doesn't have it.
I think every level has a power up in it, except for the challenge,
like the
square,
challenge triangle, circle levels or whatever.
Right. So those power-ups like really change how you interact with the level.
Mhm.
So here's a couple examples. There's one that shrinks you down to a little mouse Astro Bot. So like it's a little world, big world. You shrink down, you grow for different things. There's one where you get these monkey arms that stretch out to punch, and then you can also like you can like climb by tilting the controller to like raise up an arm, grab a ledge, raise up the other arm, grab a ledge,
Mhm.
etc. There's a chicken that works like a jetpack. There's a bulldog one that charges you straight ahead, and they'll build challenges and boss fights around this plus your core move set.
Mhm.
These are by and large, in my opinion, really fun. There's a couple that I don't like. I don't like the monkey climbing because I don't like tilting the controller.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and there's one that turns you into a balloon that is just it's just not very interesting. And I found it really hard to like fully grasp like the limits of it, we'll say, when it
So
gets to like the hardest versions.
what I like about the balloon one, I'm with you for the most part. I'm not like that's not my favorite power by any stretch of the imagination. But what I would love to do if I was doing like a speed run thing, what I would do is you because when you inflate the balloon version of you, you hit the same button to deflate yourself. So if you're trying to like speed it up, so you get over a platform when you know like your balloon's going to wear out, or you might have to go even further, so then you
Mhm.
deflate, bounce off the platform real quick and hit the inflate button again before you land, and you just keep on going. So
Mhm.
it kind of turns into this little mini, like you kind of go into a bit of a flow state where it's like you run off a ledge, you inflate a balloon, and you're going up in the air. Then you land on a spinning flower petal, because those are always the hardest levels. And then you bounce off, you deflate, so that way you bounce off of it, and then you inflate again. So now your inflation is like recharged or whatever, and then you continue on. And if you can kind of pick a rhythm with that, you can actually like go through those levels, which usually would be very, very meticulous, excuse me, and you can get through them pretty quickly. But it takes a lot of practice. I can tell you, my
Yeah.
daughter hates those levels.
Well, even though that's not my favorite, it's my least favorite. It's like one of the very few negative things I have to say about the game is like not all of these power ups are winners, in my
Mhm.
opinion. There's like two or three that I don't love. Probably maybe just two. I can't even think of a third off the top of my head. But even within the ones that I don't like, there's a ton of complexity and there's a ton of learning that you can do.
Mhm.
And it's like I would log on the speedrun levels because all of these power-ups have their own dedicated speedrun level to like, and they show you leaderboards of like the world record and then your friends list. And it worked really well in Neon White and it worked really well in Astrobot, where I log in and I'm like, all right, Josh has me beat by 2.5 seconds. I can beat Josh if I play this level a couple more times. And then I'll send him a screenshot. I'll be like, look at this motherfucker. And then I got to take the game back to the library. So I can't retake my time. That's what I'm telling everybody. Shout out to Nick from Friday Night Gamecast, who absolutely obliterated my times. And I am just going to use the excuse that I can't, because I got to wait 6 more months for my turn at the library again. So Nick, I'm looking at the camera right now.
Do you
I'm
think
coming
you'll
for
actually
buddy.
like rent it again and come back to like try to get those speed times?
No, it's going to go on PS Plus. I just keep telling myself that it's going to go
Okay.
on PS Plus sometime,
At some
and then
point.
I'll get back into it. But all that to say, there's a lot of complexity within a simple set of moves, even when you add in this upgrade thing, to the point where I would look at those scores on the leaderboard. I'd be like, I thought I did really well in that level, and Nick beat me by 40 fucking seconds. Like, how? My time was 1:30 and he beat me by 40 seconds. Like, how does that
That's
work?
crazy.
And like, there's things like that. So it just shows you like how good you can actually get within this. And it's all possible because it's creative. The levels are just so fucking good. They're so
Mhm.
well designed. They're so fun to go through. Um, very few times when a level challenge was unintuitive. Like I always came up and I was like, I know exactly what to do here, based on what's available to me. And the only time I didn't is because I skipped a tutorial and I was like, I
Mm.
don't know what these shiny green blocks do. And I was like, oh, you have to wait till it vibrates when you're in front of the right one.
Yep.
Um, But that's my fault for skipping the tutorial because I thought I'm a big boy gamer and I don't need that. So, yeah, the levels, it's not just like fun with movement and stuff. The levels are beautiful. The visual design is incredible. The puzzle design is really intuitive and fun. And at the end of most levels, not all, there's a boss fight. And the boss fights are usually really fun too.
Specifically, like the really big boss fights, the gorilla is, I actually really like the gorilla one a lot. It's the first one. It's like in the first galaxy, but like he throws these giant steel girders at you, like Donkey Kong style, and you have to run up them and jump from building to building. And then when you get to them, you normally Astro Bot, it's like a one-hit kill. Like when you get hit, you're done. But in this, you have two little hearts that like float out the back, and it indicates, okay, you can take 3 hits before you die. And I've died a few times on some of the bosses. It's interesting to me where I find it interesting where like games can broadcast something to you so you know exactly what you have to do, but the game is still challenging enough that you still struggle to do it. I think that's such a hard line to walk because sometimes you want the player to like actually have to think about like how to solve the puzzle that's presented to them. But other times the puzzle is just like how expertly you have to figure out how to do this as expertly as possible. And the bosses, I thought, tested it pretty well. Specifically, I think it's the snake boss was one of the toughest ones for me.
Yeah, the snake
that one was
kind of tough.
Really challenging.
And the bird one. None of these are like, I spent an afternoon fighting this boss. It's more like, it took me 2 or 3 tries to do it. But it does require some, dexterity from you. And like you said, none of these puzzles, and I include the bosses in the puzzles because they are puzzle bosses. You figure out, I have this power up. How do I use this to hurt the boss, basically? And all of the puzzles, the point of the puzzles is not to like stress your brain. It's not like, it's not The Witness or something like that puzzles. It's like we designed this creative way for you to move around and interact with the environment type puzzles. So there's an obstacle. You know that your upgrade in that level is the tool that's going to help you overcome that obstacle. It's just like, what do I need to do with it? And it's usually a very simple solution, very intuitive. It's why a 4-year-old can beat a level of Astro Bot because like the puzzles are not like they're fun, but it's never like, man, I am not smart enough to figure out this puzzle. It's never like that, It's a
game that's easy to pick up, but hard to master, as we've seen with the speedrun times. Like, it can be really hard to get those, like, especially you have it in your notes. Not to jump too far ahead. I don't know when you want to get to, but like the Megamix stuff, that Megamix level. And even like the 300 bot tower one all the way up to the top, like both of those are really hard, really, really challenging levels.
Dude, yeah. So on the whole, would you agree with me here that like the main game of Astro Bot, especially like the first probably 3/4 of it, is a pretty easy game? It's pretty breezy to if all you want to do is just beat the levels and get the bots, it's very easy. That doesn't mean it's not fun. It doesn't mean it's not like a challenge sometimes, but it's not like it's not like playing an old Mario game where it's just like, man, I gotta really lock in and execute on these jumps. Like it's just not that kind of game. You get checkpoints like all the time,
pretty generously.
Yeah. But the challenge is there for the people who want the challenge. There are bonus challenge levels. There's the speedrun levels, the Megamix levels, which take a bunch of power-ups and like make you do them one after the other with no checkpoints. Those are some of the hardest like platforming things I've ever beaten. But I wanted to beat it because it's so fun to control Astro and to move around and do the stuff. I've been thinking, like, as I'm playing Silksong, which has brought up difficulty discourse again, I've been thinking about why Silksong inspires me to overcome the challenge. Whereas, like, if I come across a really fucking hard boss in Elden Ring that's, like, objectively not harder than the one in Silksong, or not easier. I can't remember how that works in my head. It's been a long day.
They're about the same level of difficulty, we'll say.
Same level of difficulty. I am inspired to overcome the challenge in Silksong, whereas in Elden Ring, I would summon help and just get it over with, because I don't want to deal with it. And Astro Bot's challenge levels are really, really hard. And I was inspired to get good at them, practice, and figure them out and beat them. And I beat them all. Like I said, I got all the bots. And I think it's because no matter what's going on, no matter what the challenge is, preview for the Silk Song episode, everybody, coming in, 3 months or whenever. No matter what the challenge is, and Astro Bot is like this too, I always see the path to victory. I can always see in Astro Bot, oh, nope, okay, that floor is electrified, and I double jumped when I shouldn't have, and I fell into the electrified floor. I will not do that next time. I'll keep that in mind. And I always see my mistakes, and I always see the path to victory. Every single time, every level in Astro Bot is like this, no matter how hard it was, because I think it provides a great high-level platforming challenge at a certain point in the game. But no matter how hard it gets, you're never like, I don't know what they want from me here. It's always very clear what's expected. You just have to practice. And I can get down with that.
I'm with you on that too. I mean, you've heard me with my rants on like the Soulsborne games and the
right.
Actually, Hollow Knight falls into that as well. I've tried Hollow Knight, and I just didn't enjoy it. Like and Silk Song I've heard is even harder than Hollow Knight, and I'm just like, well, no, thank you then. I don't mind games that are challenging for the sake of being challenging, but sometimes I feel like when it becomes a badge of honor that like arcing, like the purpose you're trying to do is to be mean to the player. I just don't understand that mentality. And some people love that though. Some people love that type of gameplay, that really kind of brutal, and more power to you, man. Like
yeah, that's me.
I'm not of the opinion that the game is bad. It's just I can't wrap my head around enjoying it. And with games like Silksong and Soulsborne games, a lot of times like you have to, practice on bosses a lot, and that's fine. But like I've used this example before, definitely on my show. I don't know if I've said it on yours, but like in the first Dark Souls games with the gargoyles, right? The bell gargoyles. My issue with that fight wasn't that they were hard. It was that the nearest bonfire was like a 3-minute walk to get back to them. And so I'm trying to learn their patterns, and it keeps getting interrupted. And you generally in those, with boss fights in Dark Souls and Hollow Knight, you get wrecked pretty much immediately, usually, unless you have to learn their patterns.
You don't know what's coming. Yeah.
And that's normal. That's valid. Like, you're gonna get wrecked. But if you're gonna make that be your style of gameplay, you have to let me get back to that point, at least for me, relatively quickly. Otherwise it feels like you're just wasting my time. And Astro Bot, it never feels like that, because the levels, like, it could take 3 minutes to beat a level, which is how long it just took me just to get to the boss in the first place. Versus with Astro Bot, you're always getting to, like, if the level is the entire boss fight in this instance, right? It's not taking me 3 minutes just to start to the level that I'm stuck on. I'm starting a level over, and I'm getting better at the spots that maybe I passed just barely the first time, and now I'm even better the next time. They're always letting you just kind of start over. And the challenge is, it still gives you that endurance of like, this is going to take a while to beat, relatively speaking, because 3 minutes in a crazy intense platformer is nuts. And it's anxiety inducing.
Those challenge levels are like, so it's like, okay, the challenge level is 2 minutes long to beat it. You're thinking in your head, 2 minutes is not very long, but it's 2 minutes of intense focus and execution.
Yes.
It's like white knuckle, sweaty palms, lean forward off the couch, like focus type stuff. I think that like one of the keys is in Astro Bot, those kind of like player unfriendly things, like, for example, not having checkpoints in a level. That's only in the hardest level, the hardest optional challenge levels, which if you don't want to do those, you don't need to beat those levels to roll the credits and stuff like that.
You've also spent at least 15 hours mastering the game mechanics to get to that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, I finished the main game in Astro Bot, and I was like, I'm not done playing this. I'm not satisfied with that. I want to get all the bots. In order to get all the bots, you have to beat all the challenge levels. And so I I had a lot of fun with those challenge levels. It's frustrating. They're really hard, but I had a lot of fun with them. Speaking of friendly design, I want to just point this out. It's really cool. I love this. You want to get all the bots, right? You're playing Astro Bot, and you're into the idea.
Oh, yeah. All the bots.
You're like, I wonder if they have any Nier Automata characters in this game. For example, you're like, I want to get all the bots and see what's out there. So you'll need to replay some levels to get the bots that you missed, because they're hidden. You're going to miss some. You're going to miss a lot in some levels. When you replay a level, you can pay 200 coins, which is not a lot, to unlock this little bird that will start beeping a sonar when you get close to a collectible that you missed the first time, which is just, it's like, I already proved to you that I can beat this level. I don't need to prove to you that I can do this level again. I'm collectible hunting on this return trip. So they give me a thing to make collectible hunting a little bit easier. It will start beeping and you're like, okay, there's a bot in this area. Where could it be?
Or a puzzle piece, or the secret exit. Because sometimes there are levels with a secret exit to like an alternative galaxy. Ooh.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you're like, you still have to find them. You still have to do the thing to get them. But it's just letting you know, like, hey, in this specific part of the level, there's a collectible that you missed. And it's really nice. It made collectible hunting a lot more fun. And it made it, I'll just straight up say, it made it possible for me to get all the bots. If it didn't exist, I just straight up wouldn't have found a good, dozen or so of them. Just would have missed them. Didn't know there was a thing in that part of the level.
I didn't really I used it to find the secret level exits. I didn't actually use that
those are real
to
hidden.
find any of the bots. The bots I was able to find I think I might have used it by once or twice, but maybe once in the entire game I used it to find a bot. But for the most part, I found all the bots on my own. Because I enjoyed all the poking around and stuff like that. The secret levels there was a bit of a puzzle to get to the secret exits on some of the levels. And just talking about this just makes me realize how much of a throwback this was to like old platforming game design. There's secret exits. It's like Super Mario World, It's like there's secret exits in this game that takes you to more levels. It takes you to more levels. And so I'm going to steal a point that they talked about in the Retronauts episode of Super Mario World, is that the game rewards you for poking around and exploring its levels by giving you more game. You explore through the levels to find more Astrobots, but if you find the secret exit on some of the levels that have secret exits, and they tell you which ones because it's got a little like swirly thing in the like when you're hovering over the planet, so there's a secret exit in there. It gives you a reward of a whole nother level with 5 bots and a couple puzzle pieces in them. And there's a whole separate secret galaxy which has like 10, what would you say, like 8 to 10, maybe a little bit less, but like separate worlds or planets.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, in a game like this, if you're having fun playing the game, the best thing that this type of game could ever reward you with is more levels, more time playing the game. Yeah, more game. Not every game would earn something like that, but something that's like just as like kinetically fun to play as Astro Bot. That's the best reward, is give me more levels to play. I'm like, I would have played 20 or 30 more levels if they had a DLC pack or something like that. It's such a joy to play that I never considered that I was like, I've had my fill of Astro Bot. There's a lot going on in the world and in personal lives too, like not worldwide stuff, countrywide stuff, statewide stuff if you're unlucky enough to live in a place like I do, and then like personal stuff that like I could use some cheap joy in my life, and Astro Bot just continuously provides just fun, smiles, laughs. It's great for that.
And I wish I could put, like, I talk about this sometimes on my shows. It's like one of the reasons I still gravitate towards a lot of Nintendo stuff is that a lot of their games, they find a way to infuse joy into their games. They find a way just to be kind of fun. And I don't know, like that to me, that's an unquantifiable trait in a game. Like, I don't know how to tell you why. So, because fun is, relative to the person. Whatever you find fun, that's completely
fun,
up to the
fun,
player.
joy, charm. Like, those are all things that, like, I can say this game charmed me, but it might not charm you because we're different people. But like Astro Bot's like at the top of
there's certain games where it just, you can feel the joy emanating from it. You can feel how it is able to, when you play it, you feel the joy that was put into it. And I don't understand what trait or aspect of a game it is. Like, I mean, I feel like that trait and aspect is going to vary from person to person, but at least with games like, Mario, I think, does this really well. I have not played the new Donkey Kong game, but from everything I've heard about Donkey Kong Bonanza, it just seems like a similar type of thing. It's wonderfully charming and goofy.
Tongue-wagging joy, yeah.
Yeah, tongue-wagging joy. The Dave Jackson story. But, like, it's great. And something we haven't touched on in terms of levels, though, there's a lot of, like, ancillary levels that are not the main ones, that are kind of like unique individual challenges. There's the challenges for the individual, like, there's like triangle galaxies in the fucking, I don't remember, not the Gorilla Galaxy, but the next one after that, it's like this snake or something like that. I forget exactly the next one, or is that the bird? Whatever. And then there's little circle planets, and it's just individual levels that are like harder than your standard levels, and they're shorter though. They're more challenging, but they're significantly shorter, and they're those one-shot levels. But then you also have little offshoots, like where you kind of do like a super monkey ball type of thing, where he stands on an armadillo and there's all these spikes and you have to kind of roll through the level. And then there's also like the little combat arena ones where there's like a breakable platform and you have to try to take out enemies while the platform is either breaking under you or you're breaking the platform under you.
Right.
So that, like, they have different variety even outside of the level. Like, there's variety within each standard level, and then there's a lot of variety even within the ancillary levels, and then there's even a bonus Christmas level that is
the Christmas level's so good.
It's so fun. And what's interesting about it is that it's kind of more exploratory than the others.
It's like a Mario 64 or Mario Odyssey level, more so because the regular Astro Bot levels are like just straight shot platforming challenges, platforming and puzzles. The Christmas level is like it's a big 3D environment to explore and find individual little sections of puzzles and platforming and stuff.
It's cool. And the Christmas level reminds me also of something that I loved in the games. Is there's a lot, like, I don't know when we're going to get to the music, but like specifically the music kind of adds to the gameplay sometimes, where there's like levels where the enemies or the platforms will move to the beat, to the rhythm. I think of specifically, there's like you fall down into a cave and you hear the da 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 da. And then there's these giant mushroom platforms that are going and swinging their arms back and forth. And I remember dropping down into this. I'm like, what in the like mushroom hell am I watching here? And it was awesome. It was so cool to see.
When you were talking about joy, I thought that was the perfect time to bring up the music, because it adds to it. Music is primarily done, or the name that I see on the credits is Kenneth C.M. Young, who has done music for the Astro series. I think the Sackboy games as well, Little Big Planet. Shout out to Tearaway also. He worked on Tearaway, super underrated game, or super under talked about game. That game fucking rules. Nice, yeah. And so on the subject of joy, the Astro Bots, the very little story that we get is they want to party. And the soundtrack is like a nonstop party. It's upbeat, a lot of like 4 on the floor, like dance type songs, and it's a very underrated thing, but it gives a lot of character to this soundtrack. Josh, have you ever heard more talkbox in a video game soundtrack before?
No.
The Astro Bot soundtrack?
No, I have not.
It's all over the place, and I love it. If Expedition 33 wins Game of the Year this year, because that soundtrack has like a pretty good amount of talkbox in it too.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say,
that game still. Damn it.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this, that a talk box is the key to winning Game of the Year. Because it's all over the Astro Bot soundtrack. But anyway, it's joyous. It's a party of a soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. And it does such a good job of bridging different dynamics too, where like there, like I was humming, the underground theme that but then there's also like really pulse pounding ones, specifically like the mega mix stuff, and like the other one, it's got a really like driving score that I'm not going to try to hum because it's just going to sound like me like trying to emulate a shitty electric guitar. It doesn't sound like a shitty electric guitar, just my impression of it would be awful. But like specifically that one to tie it into gameplay, that like high intensity music for the Megamix level and whatnot, it kind of gets me into a flow state. Like if you practice the level enough, you just kind of like, I'm not even thinking at times. I'm just mindlessly staring at the screen and just kind of going through the motions that I know I have to do to beat the level. And the music kind of like drives me forward with it. It's a really good song for that. The Christmas one feels Christmassy. It's like an unnamed Christmas song. It's like, your royalty-free Christmas music is kind of what it feels like. And I don't mean that as an insult to it, but it feels very nondescript.
Right.
I also love when you rescue one of the PS5 pieces, because as you beat each galaxy, you get you get the CPU and the GPU and all this other stuff, and you're slowly reassembling the PS5. And there's a little like mini game thing which we didn't touch on in the gameplay segment, where like you have to like clean off the PS5 part. Sometimes it's like ripping vines off of it, other times it's just dusting it, other times it's physically putting back together. But when you do, you have like you control two claws, like two like robotic claws, and the haptic feedbacks on the triggers actually work really well with this. But once you do it, the claws will like kind of be standing there and kind of bopping to the beat a little bit, and if you move the controller left and right, it'll go up and down, so you can kind of like do your own little dance to the music. It's great. The soundtrack is great. Even the freaking like theme for the title screen, though, Astro Bot.
That's honestly, that's probably my least favorite song on the soundtrack.
Okay,
is the
fair.
main menu song. And it might just be it's like it's right in your face with the robot voice, but I think it's
the
because
talk box. Come on, you were just praising it.
The robot voice is different from the talk box.
Okay.
The thing with that title song, and I'm gonna ruin this for a lot of people, but I gotta spread this. It's like the thing from It Follows. I gotta get rid of it. The weird reference in an Astro Bot podcast. The melody, the da 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 da, that's the same as Starlight by Muse, and I cannot unhear it.
Well, thank God I don't listen to Muse. Otherwise, I would that would ruin it for me, and I don't plan on it now. So thank you for swaying me away from Muse.
Muse is awesome. You should listen to Muse. But
I've listened to a couple of their songs.
You might like, it's not that I don't like the song. It's just like it comes up, and like, you ever have a mental association that you're like, this is the 200th time you've made this association. Can you just like stop, brain? Can you shut it off?
Yeah.
Like, I get that with that thing. I'm like, okay, brain, I get it. It sounds like the opening to Starlight. We can let it go now. But anyway, it's really good. One more thing about the music, those PlayStation themed levels, they take the music from those games and they astrobotify the song. So it's like, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty dour sounding, very serious soundtrack in one of them. And they turn it into a dance party using the same melody, the same beats, the same motifs. It's just really awesome. Like, I'm going through that level and I'm like, it's really fun to play as an Astro Bot version of this character. It's fun to do the puzzles just like I did in the game. And like, the music is bumping and it's following the same melody and all that stuff, but it's a dance party because it's an Astro Bot level. And like, I just really love those, all of them.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, that the way they kind of astrobotized some of the songs, that specifically one of the levels, if any inquiring minds particularly want to know what these levels are pre-spoiler wall, I played a game. I played the game that level, one of the levels is based off of earlier this year because I heard it in Astro Bot, because I would keep playing that level
sick.
and I kept humming that music over and over and over again. I'm like, man, I need to play this game again. And I'm pretty sure out of all the games that they cover on this, yes, I think it's the only one I've played from this year. The only one I played of those 5 games on of those different planets or levels.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only played one of them. One of the games that those are based off of this year. So, so if anyone wants to, you know, however many minutes until the spoiler wall, you countdown is on you.
Yeah. Super fun to experience those via the music. Another thing I think that adds to charm is the sound design is incredible in Astro Bot. And 2 types. One type that you may expect, you know, sound design within the game. When you pick up an item, the little jingles that you get, the, you know, pick up a coin, get a coin sound effect. Like that stuff is awesome. The little Astro Bot voices are great. The levels are full of like, through the power of the PS5, they're full of these like things that clutter up the ground, and you can do your spin attack and like knock them all over the place. Like, you know, like 150 apples will fall down and you could like knock these apples out of the way, or sprinkles or leaves or things like that. And you get like this really awesome, satisfying sound effect from hitting those. And the thing that's weird about them is they come through the controller speaker if you're playing without headphones on. They come through the controller speaker. And I am the world's premier hater of the controller speaker. I think it sounds like shit most of the time.
It usually does.
I don't want someone to walkie-talkie in through the controller speaker. Miss me with that shit every time. But the thing about that controller speaker is the sound that comes out is really like tinny and like really thin sounding.
It's not loud. It's not like distracting.
It's loud in Astro Bot.
Really?
Like if I played Astro Bot too long, I think I could turn it down. That's probably what the answer to that was. But the point is, the controller speakers are shitty. They're not good speakers. So what Astro Bot did is it maps sounds in that like frequency range to the controller speaker, like Astro's plink plink metal footsteps on a metal surface come through the controller speaker, and it's the only sound that's good on the controller speaker. Rain coming down, hitting stuff, the sound of breaking glass, all of these, you know, high pitched type sounds come through the controller speaker, and it's awesome. Like, I think one of the directives with Team Asobi with these Astro games, because they're like celebrations of not only PlayStation history, but the PlayStation 5 and the DualSense controller, I'm sure they were told, you have to use the controller speaker, you have to use the touchpad, you have to use the motion, the gyro controls and things like that, because we are, you know, if no one else is going to do it, we're going to use all this shit. And they found the perfect things to use that controller speaker for, which, like, again, I don't want any game to ever use that speaker, but Astro Bot, you're okay.
I think what's interesting, because I thought about this actually when we were talking about the composer Kenneth C.M. Young. When we were talking about him, it reminded me of this. He He worked for Media Molecule, like we said, you know, with Little Big Planet. And when I saw Tearaway, I felt like a lot of the similar spirit from Tearaway is in this game. Like, not necessarily, the gameplay is obviously wildly different, but like Tearaway, the thing that, have you ever played it first of all, like on the Vita? Okay,
I'd never heard of it. Nope.
Never heard of it. Okay, so Tearaway is interesting. It's a really cute, like, you play as this little papercraft character. I won't go into everything, but like, it is one of the few games that I feel like genuinely utilized all the gimmicks of the Vita in an intuitive way. You use the back touchscreen, you use the front touchscreen, you use the front facing camera, I don't know if you use the back facing camera, but and you use the gyro for it, but it actually was like intuitive from what I remember. And it was great. And so thinking of like a game that really utilizes the gimmicks of the system that it's on in an actually good and intuitive way. I feel like Astro Bot does that, and it could have gone wrong. Like you were mentioning before with the monkey backpack, where you have to like climb up the wall and you have to tilt the controller for it. That's a pain in the ass. I'm not going to deny that, but I'm grateful they don't do it all that often. There's not a ton of levels. There's maybe like one more than I would like there to be. But there's not a ton of levels that like utilize that consistently. It doesn't like ruin it for me. And it's like, whether it's like the haptic feedback for a lot of different things, or the little tinny speaker in the controller, like I feel like they utilized the gimmicks of the system in an effective way. And I'm grateful that I don't know if they just had ideas for it off the top of like right off the go, or if Sony gave them time to experiment and tinker and try to find a way to make it work in a non shitty way. I mean, they also had the benefit of finding ways to make it work with Astro's Playroom prior to that, which is definitely helpful.
For sure.
But I think that the gimmicks work really well. Something also with the motion controls, I forgot, like if you have already beaten a level and you go back to it, you'll see, like when you hit the pause button, you'll see the controller up, and the controller will actually like move as you move, like it adjusts to the gyro. So, but you'll see all the bots that you've rescued in like where the touchpad is. It opens up like a compartment, and all the little bots that you've rescued for that level already are just kind of hanging out and just like looking around. It's really cute. If you flick the controller, they fly up in the air and you can catch them.
I didn't know that.
You don't have, like, you can't miss them. It's not like they're just going to fall off and disappear, but like, which would be really funny. But like, you can do little stuff like that. There's like, once again, back, not to bring it back to that attention to detail, but the point you were talking about with the controller speaker just kind of led me down this whole pathway. But like, it's just really cool to see all the different ways that they kind of utilize these little things to make the game a little bit more like, just that extra attention to detail. And that tinny speaker, I think, as much as it's silly, and I agree with you, 99% of the time, don't put it in a game for me. It works in this for the most part.
Yeah. Same with the haptics. Like I like haptics. And when I say haptics, I don't mean the adaptive triggers, although I do like those too. I mean like the little micro vibrations on the PS5 controller. Most games don't use this. It's always a treat when games do this for good effect, and should surprise nobody that Astro Bot like just consistently finds creative ways to use those. When the PS5 was first announced, I remember thinking like, that sounds really cool, like, HD Rumble, but actually HD Rumble. Not what we got with like and so it didn't change the game or anything like that, but I really appreciate games that do this. I remember Returnal has amazing little uses for this with rain and stuff like that, and Astro Bot does the same thing. So just props, like you said, they used the whole buffalo. They did a great job with all the gimmicks that. Again, I'm fairly certain they were told they needed to do that, and they found a good way to do all of it. So.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
All right, well, I don't know if people know what's coming here when I ask you, do you recommend Astro Bot, or who would you recommend it to? Really difficult to say, I'm sure. But Josh, who would you recommend play Astro Bot? Yeah, I'll twist your arm.
I mean, this game fucking rules, but who would I recommend it to? Oh, man, like, I don't know. I mean, anyone who likes platformers just in general, even if you're not a big platforming fan, I think it's worth trying out because it's not hard to pick up. It's not like, something that's going to take a while to master. I mean, it's not going to take a while to pick up and understand the mechanics. I think it's worth playing if you're a platformer fan of any generation, or if you're just a PlayStation fan, because there is a lot of fan service. And I think even if you're not into platformers, seeing how they incorporate like the genuine love of Sony's history in this game is really wonderful and very fun to see. So that's who I would recommend it to. Any 3D or 2D, even 2D, but just people who like platformer games, or people who are just a fan of Sony's game history, because there's a lot of deep pulls in this.
Exactly. Yeah, I have nothing to add on those specific things. Absolutely, 100%. You know, there are some people out there who are like, there is no perfect game. And like, objectively, Astro Bot is not perfect. There are things that are not, as good as other things in the game. But as far as like criticism of Astro Bot, I don't have any, except like, 2 of the 12 or whatever power-ups were not very fun for me. That's it. 6 out of the 70 levels in the game use the power-ups that I don't love. Like, that's it. This game is as if I gave number scores, this would be the easiest 10 out of 10 I would ever give.
I also think it's really telling that as both of us who are podcasters that do weekly content's exhausting. I love it. Don't get me wrong. This is like a fun exhausting. I'm happy to be tired, but it's exhausting. Yeah. And so when you play games, especially you, Dave, like you cover more games than I do. So like especially for a show like you, for people like us who have to pump out we choose to pump out weekly content, and you have a game. A lot of times once I beat a game, even if I enjoy it, but like, unless it's something that I fall in love with, once the credits roll, I'm like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. Golden Sun, I really enjoyed Golden Sun. I mean, this will be out after that, my Golden Sun episode. I really enjoyed Golden Sun. There's a lot of bonus stuff I could have gone back and did, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I saw what I needed to. Astrobot, I look forward to see if they because they could shadow drop new levels whenever they want, and I will go back and play it again, because because there's always something new and creative to try out, and all the new levels are always fun. I get really excited when I periodically when my daughter will ask to play it, and then all of a sudden I see a new planet pop up. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, hello there. New level? Yeah. Hell yes, please. And I will go back and just kind of fall into the rhythm that I the muscle memory that I've built up from it. So that's saying something about this game, where two people in the content creation game that we're in, where we beat games for our shows, but to go back after credits have already rolled and you continue playing it, to me that shows how good of a game this is.
Yep. This is not really shade at the other game I'm about to mention, but like I said, I got this from the library. I had 1 week to play it, and I 100%ed the game in that 1 week because I did not want to stop playing it. I also rented Mario Wonder from the library. I didn't even finish that game. I rented Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I didn't finish that game. I liked it, but I wasn't like, I need to play Kirby right now, like I was with Astro Bot. It's just, it's a wonder of a game. The other person I was going to say, I would recommend this to is, I cover mostly story-focused games on the show. I have a lot of fun talking about stories, and I have a lot of fun experiencing them in reverse order, as what I just said. And so I end up filling my schedule with story-focused games a lot of the time. And if you play a lot of story-focused games and you just want to take a break from that and just play it's more simple fun. And we talk about a lot, fun is not the only thing that video games can or should be. But if you do want to play a game that's just maximum fucking fun, 11 out of 10, Astro Bot. I can't think of a better game to recommend for that. Astro Bot it's wonderful. So good. So, easy recommendations for the both of us. Now, we do have some spoilers to get to a little bit later. We're going to talk, I think we'll talk mostly about those theme levels in the spoiler section, fairly short spoiler section, famous last words, I know. But before we do that, I want to talk about Still Loading. As I said, Josh is the host of the Still Loading podcast, a podcast that I have been lucky enough to guest on several times at this point. So Josh, tell the people about Still Loading and where they can find you.
Yeah. So once again, Dave, thank you again for having me on, man.
Of
I've been,
course.
your show is one of my favorites, and I pretty much try to like I know Matt Storm says this a lot as well, and I will echo it. I try to bully my way onto your show as much as I possibly
Yes.
can
Yeah.
with all your different backlog poll, all your Patreon polls. I'm like, oh, I know that game. I know that game, in the hopes that like maybe I could like sneak in there on one of them. So I always appreciate you inviting me on. So thank you. Or
Mhm.
me forcing myself on. But Still Loading is, I describe it as a video game grab bag podcast. I kind of cover a variety of different gaming topics. I do deep dives on individual games like you will hear here, very similar to what you hear on Tales from the Backlog. But then I
Mhm.
also do other things, like I do interviews with people from the games industry. I've interviewed voice actors and composers and game designers, but then also people kind of ancillary to that. I interview like game preservationists and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I guess one of my favorites, I don't know, is this coming out in 2025, or you think it's like a 2026
Yes,
episode?
that's the plan. Yeah.
Okay. So earlier this year, then I did an episode with a dude named David Cassidy, who wrote some of our favorite strategy guides growing up: Final Fantasy
Yeah,
VII,
that was a
Final
great
Fantasy.
episode.
And I loved that conversation, and it was so fun and enlightening to learn about like what early strategy guides, like what the industry was like in the
Mhm.
mid 90s for strategy guides. So I do kind of stuff like that. And last thing I'll shout out about stuff that I do on my show is I do weird ideas, whatever piques my interest. Usually the one that's annual is the Final Fantasy Draft, which is what happens when
Mhm.
Fantasy Sports and Final Fantasy mix. Dave actually won. I believe you won the one you were on, if I
Oh yeah.
remember correctly.
Oh yeah,
Um,
dominated.
yes. So Dave was on one, and I think it was 2 years ago now. Maybe it was last
Mhm.
year.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
I do that every single year. You don't have to know anything about fantasy sports to enjoy it. It's just a fun time to chat about Final Fantasy and have my guests try to come up with the most zany ideas of their Final Fantasy as possible.
Mhm.
This year's winner was Jeff Moonen. So yeah, Still Loading, and you can follow me on at stillloadingpodcast.com on Blue Sky, at stillloadingpod on Instagram, and that's kind of my show. It's a little bit of everything. It's a lot of game history. It's video game culture and deep dives with a sprinkle of game history thrown in for a little bit of
Yeah.
added context.
Yeah, it's a really good show. I think that your show is getting stronger the more and more you do it. I'm like really consistently impressed with the people that you get on there, and I just want to throw this out there. Topic episodes are not easy. Like it, I may think when I'm making my schedule, just like, you know what, I don't have time to play 4 games this month. I'll throw a topic episode in there. Those episodes are not easy to do.
No.
It's not easy to like have a full discussion about some of the topics. I think your topic episodes are awesome, whether they're interviews with, like you said, the guy who wrote the strategy guides. Um, the one that came to mind is the episode about the Nintendo bump that you
Thank you.
did
Yeah.
with Chris Copleen and Stika.
Mhm.
That was really interesting about like a very, very niche topic, but like it's a real topic. Like people talk about it. It's a real thing. Um, and it's worth diving into. And like I saw that and I was like, that's an awesome episode idea. There's no way I could have done that episode, even with the right people. So like just props for those.
Thank you.
And then
Thank
I
you.
show up to talk about I show up to talk about the games. We did Final Fantasy 9. We did The Last Guardian
Yep.
together.
That was Last
So
Guardian was
that's where I
earlier
come
this
in.
year as well.
Yeah. Ooh, time is nothing. So yeah, Still Loading is really good. Recommend people check it out. And like I said, it just keeps getting better and better.
Thank you.
So
That really means a lot.
of course, yeah, I'll put links down in the show notes so that people can find it. And maybe as you're listening to the spoiler break music, it's not going to be the robot voice Astro Bot for 3 minutes or whatever. But as you're listening to that music, go find some Still Loading episodes to queue up. So. I did my plugs at the top of the show. The last plug that I didn't say is there's a Discord server that I have that is full of cool people, and we would love to have you join. We are a lively community talking about the games we play, talking about the podcast, talking about our lives. We are a community, not just a like, let's react to the podcast server. That's probably one of the ways that people use the server the least, and I'm okay with that. That means that people enjoy being there. So There's an invite link down in the show notes if you'd like to join us. And with that being said, we are going to take a break. When we come back, it's going to be full spoiler time for Astro Bot. For Astro Bot. Ba-da-ba-ba. All right, before we get to full spoilers for Astro Bot, I have the usual announcements and thank yous. So, I've been doing a lot of guest appearances recently, including an ongoing analysis of Nier Automata on Pixel Project Radio, where episode 2 of 3 just dropped. You can go check that out as we go through Route B and set up the rest of the game. That is on Pixel Project Radio. I was a guest on Friday Night Gamecast talking about Ghost of Yotei, and that episode should be out later this week. So if you're listening close to release day in the end of 2025, go check out Friday Night Gamecast for the Ghost of Yotei discussion. And last but not least, I was on Jalachan's Place talking about the novel Frankenstein. We had a long chat about the history of the book, Mary Shelley's life, and an analysis of the story and its themes. It was a really fun time, and let this prove to my haters once and for all that I do read books. So once again, that is Pixel Project Radio, Nier Automata, Ghost of Yotei on Friday Night Gamecast, and Frankenstein on Jalachan's Place. And that leaves me to thank the wonderful patrons who help support the show. A big hearty thank you goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Eric Guess, Rick Firestone, Nick Fakori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S., Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E., Marcus O'Neill, Stefan Drellish, Rigamort, Sil Canet, Levi, John E., Aliasi, Joseph Hooper, Yorkie Duval, Aaron Squill, Alan Kress, Doug T., Retro Overdrive, One of Many Tots, Magic Crow, Tom Danks, Shane's World, and many more. I thank you all for your support. It helps out a lot, and it means a lot to me that you think that this is worth it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If anyone out there would like to join them, you can do so at patreon.com/realdavejackson. Now, with that being said, let's get back, and it will be full spoiler time soon for Astro Bot. All right, we're back. It is full spoiler time for Astro Bot. What we're not going to do in the spoiler section is we're not going to go level by level and talk about them individually. The levels are great, I know. They're great, but that's not what we're going to do. What we are going to do is talk about those theme levels first. Those 5 theme levels that we held all details about, other than the fact that you will not guess the 5 game series that are featured in them. There's no way. And I really applaud Team Asobi for doing this way, because I would have been like, okay, PlayStation, so there's going to be The Last of Us, wrong. There's going to be God of War, correct. There's going to be Uncharted, correct. You know, the things that they put, they have like a banner logo with a bunch of their big famous characters, and like some of them are represented in these levels, but not all. So in case you don't know what they are, the first one is Ape Escape, which is a real throwback to early PlayStation history. God of War, specifically the new God of War games. Uncharted. The big fucking curveball is Loco Roco, which I had never heard of. Josh owns it physically, as I can see.
For the video watchers, I do. I found my physical copy of it for the PSP. I got it right here. And it features on the back over 40 unique and quirky stages.
I'm sure it does, based on the Astro Bot level. And then the last theme level in Astro Bot, Loco Roco threw me for such a loop that like I was approaching the final one of these, and I was like, what are they going to do with this one? Like literally could not have guessed. It's Horizon. Of course it's Horizon, but those are the 5. Let's talk about them. The Ape Escape level. I didn't write notes. You run around, you're an Astro Bot, you get a little ape catching net, and you run around catching apes that have escaped. It's I will just say it's a lot smoother to play than the real Ape Escape games, even though I do think they're fun. I like Ape Escape, but this is like the smoothed out 2025 Astro Bot version of Ape Escape. But you told me before this is your daughter's favorite level, so you've seen and or played it a lot. So what do you like about it?
I mean, I it's not my favorite of these 5. I actually think my favorite is the Uncharted one, and that's, you know, there I'll just say it out there. That was the one where the music was playing. I'm like, oh shit, I want to play Uncharted, so I replayed Uncharted 1 because of this area. But with Ape Escape, I think it's fun because there's a bunch of apes that you can collect. I mean, obviously catch. You don't need to catch all of them to beat the level, but if you want to catch all of them, then that's how you get all the bots for the level.
Right.
And each one has like different, like you have to try something a little bit different. There's always a unique challenge. Like the first one's just hiding in a bush. There's one that like is running around the statue, and the only way you can catch it, there's a big statue in the middle of this big circular like hovering platform. And the only way to catch it is if you grind on the rails, which we didn't really touch on. When Astro Bot jumps
a lot
on
of
a
rail
rail,
grinding.
he does rail grinding, which is there's some really fun stuff. Oh my god! And like one of the freaking ones that one of the power-ups we forgot to mention that I wanted to talk about was the one where like you get like you have like the elephant thing that can suck up different substances like honey, and it gets little bouncy balls,
make little platforms.
I love the ice ones because it does a little ramp and you ice skate over it, and it's so fucking fun. Anyway, we don't have to. We've already talked about the game for over an hour and 40 minutes already, so I won't go any further into that. But like the grinding reminded me of that. But like there's a different way to catch each of the apes, and when you get enough of them, then you grind up the rail to the top, and you have to fight like a little mini boss. And I was so proud of my daughter. It was the first time she ever beat like a mini boss by herself.
Nice.
And it's not like a crazy challenging one. It just throws a couple basic enemies at you. Like it throws a couple enemies that will just kind of try to push you around, and then there's a couple enemies that once you defeat them, it'll throw some enemies that have like spiky balls, and you have to get rid of them. And then there's some more spiky balls, and then finally the thing you can like throw an explosive on them, and they land, and you have to chase them, and you catch the final ape. But it's just a fun level. It's a really good callback to that era. I was thinking about them, like, why don't they go with like the more iconic, like a lot of these levels are from very recent Sony games, Horizon, Uncharted, and God of War, compared to the rest of Sony's history. And with God of War, it's even newer God of War, Norse mythology God of War. So but then I remembered, their iconic like mascots from the 90s, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, they're not owned by them anymore. Like Spyro is owned by Activision, and I think Crash is too, or was. I don't know if they still are. But like they're both, because Spyro became Skylanders, which is Activision. So like that, those two of their biggest mascots are gone. If you were going with any of the other big ones, Powerups the Rapper was not I don't believe that was a Sony character or a Sony studio. I think that was a third party one. I could be mistaken though. I like, you know what? I'm going to look that up because any, game history fans are going to be like, what the fuck? But yeah, so I was just thinking about it. So I guess it felt kind of random with going with Ape Escape, but at the same time, then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they just didn't have, they couldn't get Crash or Spyro because of, whatever. Side note, Powerups was developed by Nana Onsha and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. So it could have done a Powerups level, but I don't think that would have been as popular maybe as the Ape Escape one. Anyway, I like it quite a bit. It's a fun one.
Yeah, it is fun. It really, I think the winning, like the thing that makes these levels like really, really awesome is something we talked about over an hour ago now, but like they capture the feeling of these specific games while also it never stops being Astro Bot. So specifically in Ape Escape, it captures that feeling of running up to an ape and having it run away and being like, "Doc, get over here, you little bastard," and trying to catch it, like
Yep.
swinging your net everywhere, trying to catch him. And you catch him and you're like, "Gotcha, you little motherfucker." And I was also thinking about like, why these 5? So Ape Escape to me is one of the early examples of like a new thing on this new system, especially with the new controller with the analog sticks, that like then became like a standard, right? So Ape Escape is like almost the mascot for the history of like the DualShock controller, basically, to, or whatever it was called on the PlayStation, I don't remember, but to have the sticks, which then became the controller, which is very much unchanged since the DualShock or whatever it was.
I think it was DualShock because PS2 was DualShock 2.
Okay, so it was like Ape Escape is basically like a tech demo for that controller to teach people how to use it and build a game around it, basically. And so Ape Escape makes a lot of sense because they had to have something from early PlayStation history here. And even though they don't own the properties for like all the bots, obviously they don't own Spider-Man, but like or like Yakuza started on the PlayStation 2. A lot of other like Katamari started on the PlayStation 2. These other characters, I'm sure they called and they were like, we're going to make like the cutest fucking character out of Kiryu or out of the Katamari guy. Can we do it? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Maybe not build a whole level, but so Ape Escape makes sense. God of War, Uncharted, and Horizon, those are like the 3 marquee franchises for current PlayStation. So it makes sense that they're there. And then Loco Roco. Let's talk about Loco Roco, because that was the big surprise for me.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the other 3 in a second. So I had never heard of this. I had to look up, literally Google, what is this, Astro Bot level built around, and a couple of descriptor words, and found it's Loco Roco, a game I've never heard of. From the Vita, you said?
PSP.
PSP?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Visual aid once again. I literally bought this before I even knew what Loco Roco was. Like before I played Astro Bot, I should say. Since I mean you can see a little bit of it for the people watching the video version, but I am a game collector. There's on behind the camera, there's a lot of like game shelves and stuff like that. But actually down below me that I literally grabbed this while we were recording is my PSP games. And for a while I was always trying to buy for the PSP library because it's kind of like people don't really talk about the PSP all that much. So I will literally buy games. I do this for the DS as well. I will just look at the cover and I'm like, that's weird looking. And I'll just buy it on a whim without knowing. Loco Roco was one of those games where I just bought it. I'm like, that's like, it's very cute. It's very colorful. It's very cartoonish. I love like if you look at the logo artwork, there's like flowers coming off of the letters, which is kind of cool. It's really cute, and so I bought it on a whim. I don't think I've even played it, but I own it.
So what I know about Loco Roco then comes from the Astro Bot level, where you don't play as the bot, you play as a little like roly-poly ball.
Yep.
And it's motion controlled levels where you tilt the level to roll the ball down. It's 2D, and then you can kind of like push it up to make the ball like bounce up in the air and stuff like that. And then you have a mechanic where you can break up into a bunch of smaller balls to get through smaller spaces and stuff like that. It's a fun level. Motion controls, I'm never super hot on, but this is fun. I got all the bots my first try, all the puzzle pieces my first try. It was like not hard to like, you like see a bot in a corner, it's not hard to get there or something. I was surprised. Why is Loco Roco in the 5?
That
5
I don't know.
Games. Well, I looked it up, the history of Loco Roco, and by that I mean I spent 5 minutes on the Wikipedia page and found out it was developed by Japan Studio, which then after it was dissolved became like Team Asobi was formed out of like people from Japan Studio. So
yeah,
a nod to Japan Studio's history, and probably something that makes for a cuter level than if they tried to make like a Shadow of the Colossus level or something like that, another Japan Studio game. So this feels to me like Team Asobi wanted to put in a callback, a nod to the real Japan Studio fans, and Loco Roco was the game.
And Japan Studio, I feel like, is something that like really just, I don't know. I'm looking at their history of stuff that they've made too. Like they've made a ton of like games that I actually really like.
Great games. Yeah, great games. That's why there was outcry when Sony dissolved Japan Studio, because they were like, look, this studio has made some of the best games to ever be on PlayStation consoles.
Yeah, I mean, and they've worked on so many, like, and they've assisted with some of the greatest games, even if they weren't the primary developer. They worked on Bloodborne. They worked on The Last Guardian. They worked on, what is it? What was I just looking at? They worked on the Shadow Colossus remaster in 2018. They worked on the Demon Souls remaster in 2020. They obviously worked on Astro's Playroom for there's just so many different things that they've worked on. And my personal favorite that I've played is the original Gravity Rush. I love Gravity Rush.
Oh yeah, Gravity Rush, good Japan Studio call out. And there's a Gravity Rush bot that you can find.
Yep.
You can find the girl. I forget her name. Kat, maybe?
Kat, yes. Kat is her name.
I got to play Gravity Rush. I played a little bit and got motion sick. I should try it again.
There is a port on the PS4 that I don't think deals with all the motion control things, but I have not played it.
Okay.
So
that's where I played it. I'll give it another try.
Okay.
So Loco Roco is the second one. Fun level, surprise, but if you look into the history, you're like, I get why Loco Roco is in there. Team Asobi sticking up for their history from Japan Studio. The other three, the more predictable ones, starting with God of War. And this is where I have notes because I've played most of the God of War games. So you play as a Kratos Astro Bot. You have the axe from the new God of War series. You can throw it and then call it back to you, just like in the games. The music is the da, da, da God of War theme, but dancey, and it's like super fun. It's awesome. One of the collectibles as you go through is to kill Odin's ravens, just like in the games. And one nod that I thought was very funny, there is a shimmy through a tight space loading screen section in this level that made me laugh out loud because I was like, that's great. They know the reputation and they know the memes and they know those things. Sony gets a lot of shit for these squeeze through tight spaces things.
Those loading screens right there.
Yeah. And they put one in this level and it made me laugh.
They did something. I didn't even realize that that was like meant to be like kind of a joke. I was definitely a callback, but I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they are kind of poking fun at it because when you crawl through it, there's really not much in on the other side. Like there's a little bit.
No, it's just between two rooms. That's
all. They do something similar to that in the Uncharted thing because in the Uncharted level, the finale, like the final portion of that level, not to jump ahead into that, but just the final portion of that level is you go inside like this temple and you shoot one explosive and it causes the entire temple to start crumbling down around you and you have to just book it the hell out of there. I'm like, that's a very Nathan Drake thing to do. One thing goes wrong and the whole thing comes crashing down. That's a very Uncharted and Nathan Drake type of thing.
Yeah. Everything you do in Uncharted leaves like the place you were in like just destroyed in rubble. So
no,
that happens in that.
Regard for cultural sensitivities, just destroying heritage landmarks as you
Not
go.
even a little bit. Another one in the Uncharted level, again, like kind of poking fun at these little infamous things. The Uncharted level has multiple parts where you slide down like a muddy hill, which like Uncharted games have so many of those slides, and Nathan Drake goes, oh shit, as he's sliding down. The Astro Bot level has like 4 of them. It's really funny.
I also really like, actually out of all of these, I think, because I'm just looking at the list here, I forgot about this. In the Horizon one, the T-Rex boss at the very end. Yeah. I forgot. That is an insane fight.
It's fun. It's like you're playing like the kiddie version of Horizon Zero Dawn, but like it still feels like you're playing Horizon. You're shooting the bow, you're diving out of the way and stuff like that. It's really fun.
all of these levels are, even like we touched on it already, so I'm not going to rehash it entirely, but the Loco Roco level, even, like, it's a silly mechanic, but it is genuinely, like, it's a lot of fun. Just like they do a good job of switching up the gameplay just enough for those levels, whether it's Ape Escape, God of War, Uncharted, Loco Roco, or Horizon. It's they honestly made a solid set of control scheme for each one of these levels, and it works.
Yeah,
it's not nothing that, like, specifically the Loco Roco level, I don't know if I would play for an entire game, but it's fun for like a little one-off.
On that note, you know what you just reminded me of? I was thinking of, like, I had the same thought. Would I play an entire game of, so like the God of War with the axe, the Uncharted one, it's a third-person shooter. You get a little, like,
God of War one I might personally, but sorry, continue.
Right. You get a little gun in the Uncharted one that shoots little colored balls out. And in Horizon, you get a bow. And you know what this is? It's the Lego games. It's the equivalent of the Lego games. So it's,
and now
like,
there's a Horizon Lego game.
Exactly. Like, think, if anyone's ever played Lego Star Wars, think of the way that kind of works and your moves and stuff like that. And that's what these feel like. And those Lego games are generally awesome. Really fun. But, like, kind of a little easier version, less complex version of the parent game, the parent game. But, like, that's what the God of War, the Uncharted, and the Horizon feels like. In the same level of quality too. Like, it's really fun to do the third person shooting in the Uncharted level and shoot the bow, and you, like, slow down time when you shoot the bow. In the Horizon level, like, it's awesome.
There's a lot of fun stuff with it, and, like, I don't know. It's just so well done. Like, they didn't have, like, once again, lending to that celebration. Like, it's not just that they designed 200 plus unique animations for all the different like PlayStation Astro Bot cameos. They made entire levels with separate Astro Bot cameos with that, having to design completely new gameplay mechanics for these levels. Like, the rest of the game, it's the same gameplay mechanics that you're iterating on. They essentially took the same idea of, like, you getting different power-ups, so now you get a new power-up for these levels. But these power-ups fundamentally change how you play the game. Yeah, you still have your jump and your spin attack, but, like, shooting with a ranged weapon is so different. Like, you don't get anything close to like that with maybe the frog punching gloves, which even then there's a limit to the range.
Right.
So it's like, there's just so many different, and then, like, the axe too, how, like, you'll throw the axe and it'll freeze like a fountain of water for you to jump on, then you have to call it back so you can have it with you. Like, it just leads to honestly bring the conversation kind of full circle to how we started. It just they consistently show why this is not just a cash grab, why it's something that they genuinely have affection for the history of PlayStation, and they wanted to share that affection with us, with the people who played their piece of art. And it's very apparent.
It's apparent in the little details. If you've played God of War from 2018 and then Ragnarok, you play the God of War level and you're like, yeah, they know what it's like to play those games. They didn't just make characters and build a level made of ice or some shit. They put in those little nods, like killing the ravens and shimmying through the tight space and the way you do your puzzles and stuff like that. And that's the same for all of them. I would assume it's the same for Loco Roco, the only one of these that I've not played.
I mean, I can show you a close up of the box art right there. So
well, yeah, like the art, that's about art for sure looks the same, but, like, I don't know what it's like to play Loco Roco, but the callbacks in the Uncharted level are great. Even thinking about the Horizon level, if you think about, like, what are your memorable moments from playing Horizon Zero Dawn? For me, because that's the one that I've played. Memorable moments include climbing a tall neck for the first time, and, like,
which you do in this.
Which you do in this level, you climb a tall neck, fighting dinosaurs, which you do. You have a big boss fight against a T-Rex. And then, like, the colors of Horizon stand out too. Visual design. And that level is super colorful, like Forbidden West.
The purple kind of, like, when you're looking through the focus in the Horizon games, and you see the
see, like, the ghosts kind of,
like projection ghosts almost of just like these purple like translucent images that you kind of see over just people walking around. They have that in the level too. It's really
in
cool.
the Astro Bot level. Yep. Um, and then the last thing I wanted to note, again, showing us like they know about Uncharted. The last piece of the Uncharted level is like the whole place is coming down. We have to escape. We have to jump through the opening as the whole place collapses right at that split second. We've said it enough. These levels are super fun, and they show a knowledge and a love for the games that they're basing the levels on. So what more could you ask for? And you brought this up, but like, just to reiterate, because I don't think you just like straight up said it. So they built like this whole thing, use the bow, slow down time for the horizon level, etc. They never use it again. It's one level, never comes back.
Just because it fit with the theme of the level. That's why they did it. They don't have to do that, and it's a much more integral to the level, but it's a much more integral to what we're talking about here with the slow down mechanic. But like even touching to the idea of like the when the rain falls and you see the little PlayStation button logos when it hits the ground, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do all this. Now that's a very different thing. This is a whole, like the slowdown mechanic, the ice axe in God of War, like all that stuff is specific to these levels, and they're a lot more integral and a lot more like noticeable. But like it's just stuff where like they didn't have to go that extra mile. What they already had was good enough, and they said, "Nah, we're gonna keep going." It's great. And
very good
the
stuff.
Crazy thing is, we're going to like, I don't know how much this will be after editing. We're over 2 hours in, and we still have to talk about the final level still.
Yeah. So the final level is a shooter, an old school shooter, a shmup, as we call them now. I guess they were thinking like, okay, we've repaired the ship, and we're gonna have a boss fight in space. What kind of game would best fit that? And so we have an old school like top-down shooter. Although this one is not top-down. It's from behind the
kind of
ship.
Star Fox-ish.
Yeah, Star Fox is a good pull. Yeah, and the cool thing about this is you go around, you shoot these enemies as you're chasing Nebulax in his ship, and you get help from these other ships. A PlayStation 1 ship shows up to help you through a section. Some bots are piloting
with little
that.
dudes on memory cards, PS1 memory cards, is like the ancillary cannons. It's great. The side cannons.
It's in case you forgot, which I did throughout the course of this, that it's not a celebration of PlayStation games and characters only. It's a celebration of hardware also. So the PS2 shows up, on and on and on. But like you thought they forgot about the Vita. Nope. The Vita shows up and helps you. The PSP shows up.
Move.
The PlayStation Move even shows up.
I think they even have like, they showed in Astro's Playroom. I don't know if it's in Astro Bot, but like, they have even like the 3D thing, how like there was a big push during the PS3 era for 3D gaming, and they had a Sony. I remember working at GameStop, and they had a Sony branded 3D television that you could buy for $300, which was a steal for that type of television at the time. It was only like 32 inches, but like the comparable was like so much more than that. Side note, this is a non sequitur, and I'll jump off this very quick. The only cool thing I've ever seen from that 3D television technology that I think was genuinely useful was multiplayer, because one person, you could have two people looking at the same screen, but the glasses they were wearing dictated what they saw. So the one player would only see their screen and the other player would only see their screen. It was wild when I saw that for the first time. Anyway, sorry, that's a complete digression, but I totally forgot that existed until I thought about the hardware thing with the history of Sony.
Right. And so you do that shmup level, and the final boss, the final boss against Nebulax, he has like a wheel he spins that will pick one of the power-ups. And you have to do a sequence of these to beat the final boss. It's randomized. I had to do this 3 times because I kept failing the one with the balloon power up, and then
Some
the
of them
time
are
that
really hard.
the time that I won, he just didn't pick the balloon power up, and I was like, oh yeah, just don't pick that one, you're going down, and he did. But kind of a final boss that like brings back, gameplay mechanics and gimmicks and stuff like that, but all like in a row, and a fun final boss as long as you pick the power-ups that I like.
And it is kind of because the wheel is random. I will say I don't know if he ever did this for you, but when I was replaying it recently for this, and I got it because you have to basically win 3 challenges to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
And each challenge is based off one of the power-ups, either the chicken egg booster that rockets you straight up, the dog booster that rockets you straight forward, or whatnot, any of those, or the monkey symbol thing, whatever it is. So there was one where I had beaten 2 of the challenges, and there's one slot on the wheel where like if it lands on it, you just fight enemies. You don't get a chance to hit them, you just have to fight enemies. And there was one time where I got like 2 enemies in a row. I was like, all right, god damn it, can I get the timing right? Landed on one, and he looked at it. I kid you not, he looked at it and went, nah, and then he flicked it, and he moved it to the enemies. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Now I can't. I have.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so mad. I was so mad.
That happened to me a few times. Both of those examples, like getting enemies 2 times in a row and then him moving it. But luckily he moved it to a thing where I was like, yeah, you want to give me the bulldog? I'm cool with that. Give me that.
But once you do it, he takes that away. So it's not like you do the bulldog 3 times. You have to hope that you don't get a shitty power up or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a fun boss. It took me a few tries. Unfortunately, brought back a power up that I don't like, but what are you going to do? One more thing I just wanted to shout out is you get a playable credits sequence after this, and cool. I love it. Nothing shows me that you care about your employees more than giving them fair wages and good working conditions. But after that, put them in a playable credits sequence. You thought I was going to say, you thought I was going to forget the most important thing at a workplace is fair pay and good working conditions. But the playable credits just shows me like it's a little bit of love. Like highlight these people, make me, see their names, a big wall of names. I'll sit through it. I'll look at the names. I'll listen to the music and things like that. But I love a playable credits sequence. Think back to Smash Melee, or like most of the Smash games, honestly, for giving you like those Star Fox levels to go, shoot the names and stuff like that. And this one, you get like a long platforming level where you like jump on platforms and people's names come up in like fireworks and stuff. It's joyful.
It's awesome. It's so cool. I mean, I don't have anything to add to it. I love it too.
It's very good. We talked about the challenge levels already. I don't have anything like specific to say about Mega Mix Mastery or the challenge levels unless you do.
No, I think we covered it all pretty well. They are challenging but fun. And the individual challenge levels for the specific power-ups, I actually found
there is one of those.
Almost more frustrating than the Mega Mix. The Mega Mix was hard, but like I kind of like what you were saying, how it's like, all right, I know how to beat this. There is some of the individual like mega challenges for the power-ups where I'm like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to do this except for brute force. That's not always the most fun way to do it. I eventually obviously figured it out, but they're good. Right. They're really challenging levels. This game does such a great job of giving you like, I feel like sometimes games will be too easy at first and then get harder at the end. And then, but even then they're still not that difficult. And when they say, oh, we're going to give you challenges if you want it, the levels aren't even that challenging. This one, it feels very much like these final levels are brutal, but like they're fun tough. Brutal. Like I love them.
Yeah, they're tough. And they do a cool thing where they give you like different levels of difficulty within the level because there's like 3 levels of it. So number 1 is just finish the level. Number 2 is number 2 and 3 are there these 2 birds that are flying through the level at different speeds. And you have to beat them in order to get the bots. Each level has 2 bots. And so beating the blue bird is pretty easy. You'll get the first bot. I got all of those my first time. Beating the red one, though, the red one's moving. And for the two power-ups that I don't like, the balloon one and the monkey hands, dude, I did that monkey hands level so many fucking times
It's
trying to beat
hard.
that red bird.
And it's the worst because you have to like keep adjusting your joystick. So I'm like, it honestly, in a weird sense, I hate the level, but I kind of love it for only one reason. And it doesn't outweigh my dislike for it. It reminds me of being a kid when you're first playing games and you're like literally moving your whole body in the controller trying to like. It feels like, well, we're just gonna make you actually do that to beat a level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember looking like the last section of that level is just like this fucking sheer cliff face of like hundreds of these banana handholds seemingly. And I looked at that and I was like, oh God. But you can get good at the swinging mechanic and like swing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the time that I tied the red bird, and you just have to tie, you don't have to beat it. Because like you can look at the times and be like, okay, I bet the red bird is 1 minute, 45 seconds or whatever.
Yep.
Based on the time and how quickly it got there, etc. And I'm pretty sure I tied it because I hit it right on like 0.000 seconds and still got the bot. And I was like, I'm never fucking doing that level again. But I got good at it. I'm good with the monkey hands now.
Not a fan. Yeah, I think I actually was able to officially like beat all the bots, but it was not. I don't think I ever want to do it again.
No, not that one.
I'm 100% with you on that. I never want to do it again.
I forgot I wrote down some specifics about Mega Mix Mastery. I'll just say my winning time was 3 minutes, which is 3 minutes of perfect execution in really difficult platforming challenges. So it's a lot. It's a real challenge. It uses the bulldog charge, which I'm very good at. The bear with the symbols that like flips things in the level. It uses the chicken with the rocket, and just like all the most fucked up hazards they could build, the most diabolical enemy placement, to make it a challenge. But it's like, I didn't get like mad at it because it's the last thing. It's literally the last thing. It's the last level, the last optional challenge level, I'll say. So like, yeah, it's going to be a fucking real challenge. Of course it is. It's the last level in a platformer. It's for the challenge sickos, the ones who want the final bot, which, if I remember right, was the Onion Master.
I think,
from
I think
the
you
Rappa.
mentioned that prior.
It's like, as another one I had to look up. I never played Parappa, so I had to look it up and be like, oh, okay. Like, the last bot in the game, like, who the fuck is this? I was expecting like, did I forget some PlayStation? Is it going to be Sephiroth or something? Like Sephiroth is earlier. I got Sephiroth before, but you know what I mean. And then to have it be like the Onion Master, I'm like, who's this?
Actually, one last thing that you're reminding me of with this, and side note, I forgot that you didn't say this before. You said it in a spot that I believe
I said it, but I cut it. Yeah,
it's going to get cut out. So there's some behind the scenes listeners.
There we go.
No, but did you ever go back after playing this? Have you gone back to Astro's Playroom at all?
I haven't. No.
So what's kind of cool that I note, because after I went back to Astro's Playroom, they added stuff to Astro's Playroom, not like not like new challenges per se, but there's a new room where it's like you go through it and it literally like you walk through this portal and it takes you to the PlayStation Store page for Astro Bot because it's his next adventure. It literally leads you into the next adventure. But the reason I thought about it was there are secret bots in Astro's Playroom that are not on like the bot count list, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like that you have to find. It's really interesting. Like you can find secret bots. I think they might have added them once Astrobot came out. Because you don't collect bots in Astro's Playroom. You're just collecting, I forget what you're collecting, like individual, I forget what it was. But there's like hidden bots in each level. I think the first one I got was something from Bloodborne, if I remember correctly. But it's
sick.
It's interesting. So it's kind of funny how like once Astrobot came out, they still went back to Astro's Playroom and found a way to like link the two together, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Thinking about we can just do this quickly as like a last kind of wrap up thing. Do you remember, like, what bot did you find that you were happiest to see?
Oh, that's a good question.
Just like oh, there's my guy. They put my guy in the game. For me, it was Kiryu from Yakuza, finding Kiryu. I was like, Sega owns Yakuza. So it started on the PlayStation consoles, but it's not a PlayStation franchise. So to see Kiryu, I was like, hell yeah, my guy.
I don't know if there was one per se. I mean, the first one that pops in mind is just Ratchet, because I love Ratchet and Clank. It's my favorite series.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I do think the thing from the Guardian in The Last Guardian, the
Trico,
the little Trico one, which it was not little, it's huge. They also have Croc in this, which I was like, yo, shout out to Croc, man. I was never like a giant fan of that game.
They got
but
some
like,
deep pulls. Yeah.
But like and there's a remake of Croc out now too, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I had one that I like was like, I think in all honesty, and I knew it would be there. This is not a surprise. It's just Uncharted, because I love the Uncharted games. I know they're very generic third person action games, but I love those games. But the more I play them, I'm like, wow, these are just very straightforward, not a whole lot of fluff. It is just bare bones. It somehow just is. They're so competently made, they work so well. But that's
at the time that Uncharted, and especially like Uncharted 2 came out, they were not that. They were not that. They were groundbreaking in a lot of ways, like presentation especially.
Yes.
So yeah, it's one of those where it's like, they feel kind of generic. It's because so many games that came after it are like, let's do some Uncharted shit, That's
pretty much it. But yeah, just seeing Nathan Drake as like the cute little Astro Bot thing, I just loved.
Speaking of generic, I was going to talk about this earlier, but I forgot. There were a lot of bots that I picked up for mostly characters from like that PS3 era. They're just like, this is just a white guy with a short brown haircut where, there's like a real era in video games where it's like the guy Whitey Shoot Good characters that are just like, yeah, he's just a white guy with short brown hair or maybe a Buzz like military cut. That's who he is, and that's what he looks like. There's a good like meme that shows like 20 game characters from like the mid 2000s. You're like, these are, we promise you, these are not all the same character, but they are all basically the same character. And so you pick up some of those in Astro Bot, and I was like, yeah, that was a type of character we had a lot of.
I can't even think of any, because they're so nondescript. I can't even think of an example outside of Nathan Drake.
Like, like Nathan Drake for sure. Like the guys from Gears of War, like those, I mean, those are like big meathead guys, but like that type of design. Oh, who's another like Shepard from Mass Effect? Like, take away the N7, Shepard's a very generic ass looking, guy or woman. Sorry, but the guy especially. That was the archetype.
You couldn't play as a femme shep until the third one.
But yeah, I picked up a lot of bots where I was like, oh, it's another guy White Shoot Good character. Don't know his name, but he's from a Spec Ops game from 2007 or some shit. Those type of characters, including the main character of Spec Ops: The Line.
Was he in this?
I don't know, but like that type of, you look at a picture of Walker from Spec Ops.
Ironically, also voiced by Nolan North.
Yeah. Wasn't I on the still loading episode for Spec Ops?
You were on the Spec Ops episode for me.
There we go. Full circle. All right, Josh, it's been a blast talking about Astro Bot with you. I really appreciate you. This has been one of the happiest episodes of the show. Very little to critique. Just fucking celebrating this game. It's so good. Thank you for doing this with me.
Dude, thank you once again for having me. I love coming on the show. I have not been able to talk about Astro Bot on my own podcast yet, so being able to come over and get to gush about a game that I've thoroughly enjoyed now for a while has made my night. This is a wonderful way to spend an evening with recording, so thank you once again for having me on.
Of course. I will give one other call at the end of the show for everyone who's still with us to check out the Still Loading podcast. As the music is playing us out, please go find the show, follow the links in the show notes, find some episodes to download, whether you want game-specific episodes, topic episodes, interviews. Josh has got all that stuff covered. So please go check that out. Thank you for tuning in until the very end. You are my hero, as I always say. And tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
You should listen to the Character Issues podcast. It's a scientific podcast where me, Brian Edwards, your host du jour, and my co-hosts, Leah Haydu.
Everyone loves Blitzball. I hate Blitzball. Fuck Blitzball.
And Rich Davison.
Are you implying that he intentionally tried to run over his daughter and then sort of bloviated a journey around Silent Hill to make sure that she could bleed out in the process?
Work towards building a list of the greatest video game characters of all time. Every character will be ranked. Every character shall be ranked. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you find your podcast. Character Issues is available for download. So, if you're interested in the hard-nosed science and definitely not a comedy podcast hosted by a couple of numbskulls, you should check out the Character Issues podcast because, let's face it, it's better if you do.
Hey, you there! This is Nomad speaking. If you love retro video games and you're itching for some nostalgia, check out the Retro Wildlands podcast. In each episode, I'll use game music and sound to pull you into the gaming experience while I share my own thoughts and maybe a few memories. It's a great way to relive one of your favorite games or learn about a new one. Check out the Retro Wildlands podcast at superpodnetwork.com or wherever you listen to your podcast.